My name is Dr. Clay Elliott, and I reside in Calumet, Oklahoma. I am a technical consultant for Purina Animal Nutrition, and I'm here with Dr. Kevin Burgoon.
That's me, Dr. Kevin Burgoon. I'm the nutritionist for Purina Honor Show Feeds, and I think I've got the best job in the company.
Maybe so, Kevin. Maybe you do. I'm not sure. I kind of like what I do every day as well. But we are live here from Indianapolis, Indiana, at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, where the Premier 10 and Midwest Elite is happening right here. We have got a booth here in Indy, and Dr. Burgoon and I have been watching the Midwest Elite Lamb Show this morning and bits and pieces of the Goat Show. This evening, the Premier 10 Lamb Sale will take place, and then tomorrow, the Midwest Elite Lamb Sale will happen. So a lot of things going on in Indy. Obviously, one of the elite and premier show lamb and goat events in the country. And we have been a sponsor here for a number of years, but Dr. Burgoon and I are sure glad to be here. And what we want to talk today about is we've had an opportunity to create what we believe, or what I believe, is the perfect show lamb. And we worked with a company overseas that created what I believe was perfection. Okay, the pursuit of perfection is what this is called. And when we set out to do this, I was absolutely amazed at what those folks were capable of doing with an idea. And they made a 3D presentation of what I believe to be the perfect show lamb. And so the great part is that we don't, probably all of us have the idea of what the perfect one is, and we probably don't all agree on that. But we're going to attempt to talk about at least what I believe is the best one, and what makes that happen. And so when we start our program with these lambs, when we start to select, one of the first things that's important to us is obviously structural correctness, structural integrity, and then the carcass components of muscle and cutability, or muscle and trimness. Those things are imperative in my mind. And then when we start talking about some muscle shape and tone, and then the freshness characteristics that are involved in showing those animals is obviously very critical. We talk about bone and substance, and the leg wool component that's certainly relevant now. But balance is certainly a key for this guy. I really like those animals that are tall fronted, that are long necked, that are good in their chest, that are loose in their underline, and their flank line is good, great in their top line, have some pin set width, some muscularity, obviously. And then the part that we really can't get into and show you much of with just this 3D performance and picture that we have is the structural part. But I tell you, all of those things have to be in place, Kevin, in order to have a chance to have a champion.
Yep, I agree. And if you look at the parts that you just described, the muscle, the carcass merit, those qualities of the lamb are much more heritable. The heritability is much higher than, say, structure and bone and skeleton and those things that are tougher to breed in and keep in your sheep.
That's exactly right. The hardest part of livestock breeding of any species is keeping the bells and whistles, the sound skeletal design, the extra look and balance. Boy, those things are a challenge. But that, to me, one of the most critical things when we get these judges judging things is first and foremost the carcass aspect. Muscularity is key. We need those animals to have some tone and expression to their rack. We want their loin edges to have some width and some depth, some bigness out of their upper rump, and especially some shape to their inner thigh and the outward shape to their stifle upon maturity. And that's important. And then we need these folks to keep their eye on the ball when it comes to proper trimness, proper cutability, proper composition, I guess is maybe the right word. And honestly, that is an area that is up for debate. Folks will tell you that if they're under 3,500s, they're acceptable. If they are over 1,500s, they're acceptable. And from my perspective, if we got those things in that 2 to 25 range, they're dead on. And if we got them over that 2,500s, I believe we're pushing them too fat. And I tell you, I think we've got a trend in the show ring that pushes them, and they're getting them too far out there in terms of the realm of composition. So, but that's why, in my opinion, we have show lambs that actually have some length of bone, some lateness of maturity, some things like that allow them to grow and remain somewhat trim and lean. The other thing is we have products and high octane supplements that allow us to keep those animals in check. The problem is if you're not able to evaluate them and determine if they're too fat, they're too thin, it makes supplementing those animals or feeding those animals a challenge. And so if you're not capable of understanding, boy, get a hold of somebody who does, that can help guide you.
Yep. And that is a good point. I get asked a lot, either through person face-to-face conversations or by phone or email. What do I feed? When do I start adding supplements? And how long do I feed them? How long before show, and so on? And I can give people a ballpark average time. The problem with that is that you may be feeding 1 out of 200 lambs correctly, and it would be just luck if you did. Lambs, you need to, in my opinion, feed the supplements according to what the lamb is showing and presenting to you, because they don't all utilize feed the same way. They don't all express their genetics the same way. And timing is a big thing, a big important. You want the lamb to be at 12 o'clock, whatever vernacular you want to use, dialed in, ready to go. You want him to look his absolute best the minute he takes his first step into the show ring, not the day before and not the day after. So that takes some knowing, how, not only how those products work, but how the lamb is going to respond, and each individual given lamb. It can be, the easy answer is, feed it last 30 days, but that may not get the job done for you.
Wow, Doc, it sounds like that's a challenge.
It is.
Sounds like people actually need to know what's going on in order to get it right.
It helps.
It sure helps. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, because this game that we play, it's tough. I mean, the competition is good. You folks know you're out in it day in and day out, and the competition's really good. So how do you get the leg up on that competition? And in my opinion, it comes with proper selection. Okay, we've kind of touched on a little bit of that, but that part is critical. But then the feeding phase, in my mind, will allow you to either rise to the top or crash and burn. And that's as simple as we can put it, or simple as I can put it for you. But I will tell you that at our house, so these baby lambs that we're bringing in right now, we want those lambs on a quality feed, and they're actually already on, the ones at our house are already on the Honor Show Chow 18%. They are growing. They are eating about a pound and a half per head twice a day. So 3 pounds a day is what they're on. They're not on full feed, but they're sure not being starved any. They're doing well. They're growing. They're adding some bloom and some fat, and that's what we want. We just need them to remain healthy, get them up to date on their shots. They're overeating tetanus, anything like that we need. If we need to, treat them for pneumonia, or if we got any issues going on, let's get their eyes cleaned up. Let's make sure they're not scouring. Let's get them healthy and going, and let's just keep them eating and drinking. And we don't mess too much with them for the first week or 10 days that they're at the house, and then we'll turn Micah, my youngest daughter, into them, and she'll start to halter break them. She'll put a halter on them and let them stand, and then she'll put set a 5-gallon bucket right next to them, and she'll start petting them, talking to them, rubbing their legs, just getting those lambs used to her and being around, because man, they're a wild animal at this point. They've not been handled very much, and they're scared. They're in a new place, in a new barn, and they think life has gone to heck in a handbasket right now.
Yeah.
And so we're taking it pretty easy with them. And then, you know what? We'll get them sheared. Most of them aren't sheared yet. We'll rough shear them with 13s and get those things off and growing and going. So that's where we start, Kevin. That's what we do at our place to begin with. Supplement thing. We're not huge on the supplements on these babies. We don't do much. If we're a little thin, well, we might add some power fuel to their diet, but generally we just want to feed them and let them just grow kind of on their own. And then if we're going to get into the jackpot season here in Indiana, the jackpot season starts the end of May. So gosh dang, we're a month and a half out right now, you know, almost right at 2 months. And so then it's time to start pushing here in the Midwest. And we've got a brand new product out that I love that Dr. Burgoon has spent a tremendous amount of time developing, and I'm going to let him tell you about it. But it's called the Golden Ticket. And the Golden Ticket, we have gotten a significant amount of breeders that are using it and that have their lambs right up here at the Midwest Elite and the Premier 10 right now. And every one of them have raved about this product. And we use it at our house, and I absolutely love it. I'm going to let Dr. Burgoon tell you a little bit about why it was designed and what its purpose is, and then I'll explain to you a little how we use it.
Okay. Golden Ticket is a supplement. It can be used as a complete feed, but it's probably better applied as a supplement as part of the diet, not the entirety of the diet. But it's extruded. It's 16% protein, 16.5 protein, 6% fat, about 7% fiber. It contains 3 main segments. One is the protein sources, very high quality protein sources, as high as we have in our company, and high as that do the trick as far as muscling, muscle shape, and development of muscle. And then calorie sources or energy sources, calories and energy, same thing. Particularly things that supply omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, medium chain fatty acids. The essential fatty acids are a big part of how the animal responds to feed, its health, its immune system, and how it looks. Skin coat, hair, wool, that whole thing that makes a show lamb a show lamb. After all, these aren't just sheep that we put in a pen and maybe feed them a little bit of feed, and then we do nothing but shear them and take them and let somebody grab hold of them and evaluate them. I mean, we really take care of these things. We try to make them beautiful. And the feed needs to help do that, and this one does that very well. The third component of Golden Ticket is the feed additives, and there are many in there, but they are, if they went in this feed, they do something. They make a physical impact on the animal, on the way it looks, or on its immune system, and the health of the animal, and therefore indirectly makes an impact on how they look. So it's really 3 components to this feed. We've received reports of lambs getting a little loose, and as far as scouring a little bit, and this product bringing them that back under control without medication because of the impact on the immune system. So it really does a good job. It really does a great job. I mean, we've really gotten some really excellent feedback, especially here. We've got quite a few lambs in the barn that are being fed that product right now. And again, it's extruded. And if you don't know what extruded is, dog food, pet foods, cat food are extruded, those little nuggets. And it's called Golden Ticket because it's a golden particle. It actually looks golden. And it is a really, really neat product.
Kevin, it sounds golden to me.
It is.
I tell you what, we've used it at our place as a test run, and then we've used it here again this spring on our Oklahoma Youth Expo set. And we have used this product really the last 45 days on these lambs that are, roughly a year of age. It's a little different in our world versus what goes on in the Midwest, when they show those lambs at 6, 7, 8 months, where we're showing ours at 9, 10, 11, 12 months. Okay, they're a little older and more mature. So the last 45 to 60 days is when we really started throwing this golden ticket to ours, just to allow them to get a little extra bloom. And I tell you what's real interesting is that fat cover that comes on them from this extruded nugget is very smooth, and it lays on very evenly. And that is something that doesn't ball up in their chest as much, or up in their forerib. Um, if you're kind of thinking about what's going on, it lays on there really nice and even. And then the cool part about it is you will see a difference, like we do at our house, in terms of muscle shape. The top shape getting a deeper groove in it, and the creases in their stifle and in their leg muscle just gets more evident and more defined. And I tell you what, it's hard to have a product that does those things in an animal that's a year of age. Now think about what it does in a youthful animal that's only 6 or 7 months. Boy, it would certainly enhances those things. And I absolutely love the product. That's one of the great moves that we have made here in recent time, and it's a product that is hitting it out of the park right now. People are using it and finding significant uses for it, not just one in terms of a supplement. And they're finding ways to use it in their creep diets. They're finding ways to use it in show lambs and show goats and hogs and cattle and the whole thing. I mean, it's not just for show lambs or goats, it's for all the species. A really neat product. But we use that one at our place, Kevin. Of course, if we get those things a little too far gone, a little too far over the hill, a little fat, if you will, why, we stick pretty close to that Fitter 52 when we've got an issue. Why, we'll feed them some of that to burn that fat back off very quickly. That is very, very aggressive. Now, for our South Downs and Dorsets that we feed, those rascals are just on a diet with Fitter 35 in it constantly. We just put a couple ounces of that in their diet every day, morning and night, so roughly 4 ounces throughout the day, and it just kind of helps keep them a little harder and firmer and trimmer. That's kind of our go-to on those. We use the Fitter 52 as the, oh my, we've got a problem, and we use the Fitter 35 as, well, I believe we're not going to have a problem. We're just going to keep them trim and athletic. So those are our go-tos. Ultra Full, Kevin, is my favorite. So one of my favorites also. I use that a lot. That was a product that I had begged Dr. Burgoon a number of years ago to create. And I'm going to let him kind of tell you a little more about how it was designed. But man, I'll tell you what, if you've got one that needs a little extra belly and flank to get them to balance up correctly, that product does it for us. And that's kind of where this the ideal show lamb comes in. I mean, I like those animals to have the right underline, their chest up and their flank down, and sometimes they're not made that way, so we've got to feed it into them, Kevin.
And that's the good thing about today. When I was a kid, a young lad, as I call it, showing lambs, we didn't have many tools. We may have had one feed, maybe, or else had to mix some things in to make our feed for lambs, but that was it. There wasn't any supplements. There may have been calf manna at the time or something like that, but and which is still a good product. But there just wasn't the tools that we have today, and that's the way I look at the high octane supplement program. Look at it as a toolbox for specific needs in your animal that you need to get done. And Ultra Full is one of them. Clay came to me and said he had a buck lamb, really nice one, but he was really tucked up in his flank and he needed to drop that in a couple weeks. I think you were the target. And at the time, the only tool that we had was beet pulp. And of course, with beet pulp, if some lambs will eat it, and it comes in shreds or a kind of ground, gritty, but the shreds are like tree bark, basically. You got to soak them in water, get them soft enough, usually, to get animals to eat it. It's just the blues to mess with. Sorry, beet pulp purveyors. I didn't mean to say it was a blues, but anyway, if we needed a product that dropped their flank and filled it out, and kind of balance that out to make them look the way you want them to look. And again, the perfection, that I don't know that the perfect sheep has been born yet, but you can certainly help getting that way by the supplements you use and how you feed him. But that's what Ultrafold does. The difference between it and depth charge is very low in energy or very low in calories, won't cause extra growth, and it expands rapidly and creates width. Really a nice product for putting width when you feed depth charge to a sheep. When the judge gets over him to handle his rack, it just looks like there's more sheep there. And it really fills up, that rack expands as well and really fills up the judge's hand. Anyway, that's a nice product. The difference between it and Ultrafull is Ultrafull expands a little more slowly, a little more progressively, and it targets downstream in the digestive tract and helps lower the flank and fill it out. And that it does a very nice job of that.
Does an awesome job of that. And that's one of our go-to products in our barn. We love that product. This guy loves that product because it does exactly what it says. And that's one of the things that I really like, Kevin, about those high octane supplements. If you know where the problem is, we have a supplement that will fix those problems or give you some help in those areas. And man, I use them all. I may not use them all every day because I don't have to, but when I do run into a jam, man, I've got an opportunity to change some things up. And that's where this pursuit of perfection, to get this perfect animal. I really like this 3-dimensional show lamb that I've developed, or that we've developed as a team with my ideas. And I tell you, when we first started, this thing was, they had the outline and he was pretty fragile and pretty frail. And I'm thinking, boy, we're going to have to stouten this guy up and make him get thick enough and all of that. And I tell you what, this was such a fun project, Kevin. It was fun to work with our team. And they created what I think is a stellar prospect, or a stellar in-point market lamb that, and I would love to have that guy in my barn. That thing is awesome. I would take 5 of them if you guys could go ahead and bring me some of those, Kevin. Mm-hmm. I'd take multiple lambs like him. But again, when it comes to selecting those animals, I think there are some fundamental things relative to muscle and trimness and structure and balance and things like that I think we can probably all agree on that are important. But then, man, can we get those extra bells and whistles in terms of their forerib shape being round and their middle body round, and get their backs big and their loin edges big and wide and square. And I tell you, that's where this feed and these products can come into play to help me create very closely, or as close as we can get to this perfect animal that I've designed and developed. So folks, we hope that you will step up and tell us where you're from and what your thoughts are with respect to the perfect show lamb. Tell us what you think about this one. Tell us what you think would be better, would serve you better. What do you like better? Okay. Or what would you like to change? That's stuff that we would like to hear from you and to get you engaged with us, and so we can talk to you about it a little bit. So anyway, I don't know if I have anything else to talk about. Kevin, you got anything else that you want to share with these folks?
I'd say one last thing, that the high octane supplements are designed to work. And one of the reasons is that my daughter showed lambs and pigs, and I like to win. I don't know about anybody else, but it's always a better day for me if we're in the first hole.
Got a blue ribbon? I'm with you.
That puts a smile on my face. Anything else, not so much. So, the products, the feeds, and the supplements are designed to work and get you where you want to be.
Absolutely. I can verify because we feed them every day. I've got a 14-year-old girl still at home, and we fight the fight just like you folks every day. We want this perfect market animal, and we want him presented. We want him to be smooth and have the proper amount of fat and have the right touch. And so these products work for us in our barn. We believe in them. And so with that being said, We again are here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we hope that we'll see some of you folks here in the next day or two.
Yep.